Welcome to the channel. In this video, we are going to be looking at Japanese style saws and kind of comparing them to Western. Please note, this is not one of those videos that's going to talk about, oh, this one cuts faster, and this one cuts cleaner, and this one has a thinner curve. No, that debate can go on forever, and it probably will go on for centuries, but the main thing about it is there's too many variables involved. You would have to look at plate thickness, you would have to look at PPI, you would have to look at the set on the teeth, you would have to look at the length of the plate to even make that a possible comparison video. So that's not what this is about. The differences that we are going to talk about will help you make a decision. The other one, I don't know why people are still talking about that. Let me also say that initially this video was going to be me learning and trying to learn how to use these Japanese style saws that have the wobbly plates with like no backs on them. And I thought it would be funny for you guys to like watch me try to learn and fail and critique my technique and laugh at me and all this kind of stuff. They were very easy to learn. I am going to be practicing in Poplar, and I'm going to start by using the Ryoba that was made by Daozo Mitsukawa. Again, you can yell at me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Let me just say that I am a little nervous. So these saws are not mine, and I've been getting told by a lot of people to be careful because you can break these plates if you're too rough. Like if you push and it binds, you'll just snap the plate. And I really don't want to break any of these, so... But he told me to go for it and don't worry about it, so we're going to go for it. Using the rip teeth. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. let me show you guys this. So I would say that that's pretty good for my first go, huh? So let's try a different one. Maybe a different one's going to be a little bit more difficult. This one is a rip cut. I had no issues learning how to use these saws, so that's why we are shifting gears and looking at the differences. So on that note, I do think the Japanese style saws are easier to learn. You might say, Jamie, it's because you have more experience with saws. That's fine, but I did take this Dozuki style saw down to my mom when we did the video teaching her how to use a back saw, and she loved this saw. She picked up how to start this one and cut with this one right away. So that's something to keep in mind if you're a beginner. Like I said, I did start Japanese and then I switched to Western because I ended up liking the Western style better, particularly with the handle. I didn't like the flat like this of how you have to hold the handle of a Japanese saw. And then I also just like that Western saws are extra and they have different like types of wooded handles and shapes and styles and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to Japanese style saws, there are three, I guess I would say the most common types. I know that there's a ton of different ones, but we're going to look at three specific types. So I had already mentioned this one. This one is a Dozuki style. Usually, from what I've been seeing, they are hybrid. So they do crosscut and rip cut, and then they have a back to keep the plate straight. Next kind is called a kataba. Now this one is only one-sided. This one's a rip cut. I believe they come in both options. Sometimes there'll be a little bit of a back on it, but they still have a flexible plate. The other common style that you're going to see is a Ryoba, not Ryobi, Ryoba. This one is double-sided, so it's going to have a rip cut and a cross-cut side, and they do not have backs on them. Now, when we're talking about rip cut versus cross-cut, I do want to show you guys the tooth geometry differences. I am not getting technical with this, just from an average woodworker's eye. What are the differences? When you look at the rip on a Japanese and the rip on a Western, they look similar enough. But when you look at the crosscut, that's where things get pretty different. On a Western style saw, the teeth are basically just sharpened on two sides to a point. With the Japanese style saw, they are sharpened to a very narrow point, and then it's almost like they put a secondary bevel on them. That's the best way that I'm going to explain it. So on that note, when it comes to Japanese saws, you might be thinking this already, how do you sharpen that? Most Japanese style saws, you don't. When it gets dull, you just throw it away. So they are made to be cheaper because they're made to be disposable. Especially when you look at these handles, this one I like because it has the darker wood here, but typically they're just some sort of cheap light wood wrapped in something that feels like plastic, or sometimes they're just into a stick, basically. Some of the saws, you can actually take the plate out, throw it away, and replace it with a different plate, but the handle is still made cheaply, and that just seems to be the nature of the Japanese saws. This one was made by a really, I don't know if I'd say well-known, but an actual Japanese maker. Like this one, for example, you get on Tay Tool Works for 30 bucks. This one was made by Daiso Mitsukawa. You can yell at me in the comments if I pronounced it wrong. But this one, the plate is actually glued into the handle. So when this one gets dull, you just throw the entire saw away. No, Lou, I was not going to launch your saw across the room. So that's one big difference that I would say might help you make your decision right then and there. The Western style saws are more expensive because they get fancy with wood types and shapes and the backs and the hardware and all this kind of stuff, but you sharpen the plate. So basically you buy this saw, you have it forever. You buy this saw, you can replace the plate, or you're throwing the whole thing away. The other thing that I probably should have mentioned in the very beginning is the Japanese cut on the pull and the Western cut on the push. I like both. And that's why I'm thinking it'll be nice to have a Japanese saw around depending on, what you're doing. If you are thinking about getting a Japanese style saw, I will talk about the different brands that I have here. Just note that I'm not a Japanese saw user. This is just kind of my initial impressions with these, what I liked, what I didn't like. So I guess take it with a grain of salt. So I have been really impressed with this Zet saw. Yeah. Zet Saw Dozuki, which I'll put a link to down below. It cuts fast, it cuts clean, it was easy to start, and it's only like 30 bucks. So this was actually a really good saw. If you are looking for the next step up and you want an actual Japanese maker, that's where I'm going to go to these two right here. They were made by the same maker. I am going to pronounce it wrong again, but it's the Daiso Mitsukawa. If I can find links, I'll put links down below for these. I also have the Veritas here, and I am not impressed with this saw at all. When you look at the teeth look like they are cross-cut. This is sold as a dovetail saw, but at the same time, this Zet saw, the teeth look like they are a cross-cut saw, but this is sold as a hybrid. So this might be a hybrid. I'm not sure, but I think the main issue with this is the plate is so thick. And because that plate is so thick and it has no support, it just kind of does whatever it wants to do. It was like skipping over the wood, and it seemed like it wouldn't cut. Like I wasn't impressed with this. So if you have the money and you're looking for like a lower end saw, skip this one and go to the Zet saw. And then again, if you're looking for the next step up and an actual Japanese maker, I was highly impressed with these ones. I really like the quality of them, the look of them. They performed really well. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you use Western over Japanese or Japanese over Western, or you use both, or you have an opinion, please let us know down below so people can check that out as well. And then as always, if you have any questions, any comments, anything like that, let us know. Hope you guys enjoyed, and have a good day. And thank you, Lou.